Welcome, everybody, to the Monday Night Tours. We are your guides through this magical journey that takes us through the Monday Night Wars. I am Josh Kaiser, and I am joined today by Kyle Hoagland.
What's up? What's up? What's up? This has been kind of a whirlwind. I know for both you and I, we both got a lot of things going on in the coming weeks.
It is a busy time. Yeah.
Most importantly, I'm flying to San Francisco. You less is your wedding, but it's been. I feel like we're going to be. There's going to be a lot of wrestling to digest in the next week, which is going to be exciting. But we're doing this to make sure that we got all the episodes for all of you guys coming out at the right times. We're not dilly-daddling on this show.
No, we are not. Just call us WWF Raw because we're going to be pre-recording a lot of these episodes ahead of time. So we're
going to be in Brandon, Manitoba for the next 4 weeks.
Exactly. And our references, we're going to pretend like our references are up to date. Like, this week, Kyle, I'm going to wish you a happy birthday because we're discussing the January 22nd editions of Nitro and Raw. So for that, a happy birthday.
Well, thank you very much. I'll make sure that future me thanks you as well.
Right. But that said, Kyle, we'll just get right into it. It's 96. It's January 22nd, and we are live, as live can be here for WCW Nitro, and we are in Las Vegas, Sin City, and our desert darling, Pepe, is rocking a tuxedo because it's a classy establishment here at Caesar's Palace.
And once again, they're not focusing on Pepe. This has been a couple weeks in a row now where they're not. They always seem to put like that awkward close-up on Pepe most weeks.
Right.
I feel like that has definitely been lacking since the turn of this year. So it's a new year, and it's unfortunately, I feel like slowly but surely Pepe's going to get a little bit less of the TV time.
We may eventually say adios to Pepe, but for now, he's here, Kyle, and the commentary booth's discussing Macho Man Randy Savage is going to be in a world title match with Flair, but he's got a bad back and a bad arm. I think he's had a bad arm now for 3 months or so, and it doesn't seem to have slowed him down yet.
Did it make you feel like that because of how much they've been talking about how Savage has not been on a roll, which I think has literally been the only person ever in the history of WCW that's not been on a roll lately.
Yeah.
They're talking about all of his injuries. I feel like they set this up when he won the title at World War III, and now they're going into this match. Did it make you feel like, and I don't know if you knew the ending of this match beforehand, but did it really make you feel like, oh my God, Savage is totally going to win?
No,
because
honestly,
of how much they've been saying how much there's no way Savage is going to be able to hold up against the 12-time world champion with all of his injuries and the fact that he lost to Luger last week. I just felt like this just screamed like, Nitro loves to give you the old bait and switch a lot of times, and I went into this thinking like I totally would not be shocked if Savage won this.
I think the reason I didn't think that happened is there's been a world title match on Nitro every week for like the last 2 months, and they always end in disqualification. So I guess I just set myself up to assume that's what would be happening again tonight. So didn't really even I've almost become numb to the world title matches on Nitro, like just assuming that nothing's going to happen.
Well, it's just a weird combination of, okay, Macho was just the world champion. He had just lost it. Why would they just give it back to him 3 weeks later? Like, that's just like a weird time to have a 3-week champion with Flair. But at the same time, it is Caesar's Palace. I think it is the place to have new champions in a big venue like this. Because obviously that's what's going to create buzz. If everyone just holds on to the titles in a big place like this, like they're almost making it feel like it's got like a pay-per-view kind of feel.
They definitely gave that effect here, and they're going to be here again tomorrow night for their quote unquote pay-per-view for January with Clash of Champions. So definitely they're giving you that big fight feel.
Right. So there was a part of me that's like, man, watch Macho win this match just because. It screams like, oh my God, people are totally going to watch the Clash of Champions tomorrow because now we have a new champion, blah, 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 blah. It just creates that buzz.
Yep. The commentary booth, Kyle, also discusses that the tag titles are going to be on the line with Harlem Heat and Sting and Lex. And before we get ready for our opening bout, Kyle, we're interrupted by Conan. So I guess this is the Nitro debut or possibly WCW debut of Konnan, who is the Mexican world champion and is putting his Mexican, I guess not world champion, but Mexican championship on the line tomorrow night against Psychosis. So we got a lot of things going on. It's good to see Konnan.
Yeah, and for those that may know who Konnan is from WCW and how he was probably like a side person in the NWO and stuff like that, as later we talk about it. He was basically Mexican Hulk Hogan. He was about as big of a superstar in Mexico as anybody who ever lived. So this was a big acquisition for WCW.
Absolutely, it was, Kyle. And now we go down to the ring for our opening bout, and of course, it's Ric Flair versus Macho Man Randy Savage for the world title. I mean, why wouldn't that be our opening bout? I guess,
and it's shitty. It's shitty because that should never be for a show. If you're going to go to Caesar's Palace, that's a shitty and last match. But they're going 1-on-1 with Raw, and that's what they're good. That's what this is going to be. They're either going to give you a huge match like this, or they're going to give you like a luchador match, or something where. And I don't think we've gotten there yet, which is weird because I feel like they were doing that months ago for a couple weeks straight, and then it's like that is totally taking a back seat.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely, it has. So. Out comes Macho Man with a parade of women, Kyle, including woman, of course, Nancy Benoit. And you actually, I didn't pay much attention to it. I guess I just kind of looked over the other group of women. But you called out that it was that Deborah. Yeah,
Deborah McMichael, and you had Linda Hogan also coming down to the ring.
That's interesting. So I didn't pay much attention. I might have to go back and double check that to see this parade of women. So they said he's playing some mind games with Flair by bringing out all the pretty ladies. And then the cat is out of the bag, Kyle. Tomorrow night, Miss Elizabeth is making her return to WCW.
Why didn't she come? Why didn't she come tonight? It's in the same place. Like why? For a
world
world title match with Randy Savage, like the cat's already out of the bag. Why not do the reveal at the same time you're announcing it? I think that would make more sense. Unless she missed her flight or something. That's the only thing I can think of. That's the only thing I can think
of as well. Yeah, something happened there. So. But anyway, she'll be in Vegas tomorrow. Always loved Miss Elizabeth, one of my favorite female valets. So big excited to have her back. And Cal, bigger news though, Kevin Green of the Pittsburgh Steelers will be here tomorrow night with his flowing gold blonde locks, I believe is exactly how they sold it. So they may have sold Kevin Green more than they sold Miss Elizabeth, which is kind of sad.
It is a little sad, but hey, come on. This is Kevin Green we're talking about, and I think during this time he was still in the playoffs.
With the Steelers. Yeah, the Steelers were still in the playoffs. I think the Super Bowl was going to be the following week, so they have, or maybe this coming Sunday. So it was coming up soon, but they're right there in it. That said, Kyle, this match, the crowd was really hot for this match. It felt. Right from the bell ringing at the beginning, it felt like a big fight kind of atmosphere with the crowd just being really hot.
It was almost as if the PA had also announced that Kevin Green would be at Clash of Champions. That's how pumped everybody was. Did you also hear that they also said that the Road Warriors were coming back? That was another thing that there were a lot of reveals right before this match started.
Yeah, there was absolutely a lot of reveals. They actually Heenan, I think, stole Bischoff's thunder by announcing that the Road Warriors were coming in. So.
Yep.
I don't know if Bischoff was actually upset about that or not, but there we go. This match was actually a pretty long match. I think at one point Mongo makes the comment, "Oh, he's going for the figure four right off the bat," and I looked and we're like 10 minutes into the show when he was going for the figure four. So I'm like, well, I don't think he's just going right off the bat.
But you got to realize, too, the first 10 minutes or what felt like 10 minutes was outside work, punches and chops. There wasn't really a whole lot of beating down, working the leg, doing the stuff that usually Flair would do to set up the figure four. So I can understand if someone's like, oh, he's going for the figure four right off the bat, meaning that no one had really done a lot of damage to each other. I think it was a lot of back and forth of, I seriously believe that all Savage did during this match was punch Flair in the face for the most part.
Right. Yeah.
And all Flair did was poke in the eye and do chops. So it wasn't like anybody was really wearing down the other. It was just back and forth, just kind of swinging at each other. And then I think he did kind of like that inverted atomic knee drop and then put that right into the figure four. which did feel like, oh wow, he's going for it already. Like it did. I'm not. Basically, what I'm saying is,
You're
and
defending him.
I'm defending Mongo.
Ultimately, Kyle, this match will come to the point where Macho Man signals for the elbow drop, but Jimmy Hart's going to get distract the referee. Which, by the way, is Jimmy Hart just now officially the manager for Ric Flair? Because I feel like he's coming out here for all of his matches.
I think once again, this is Jimmy Hart we're talking about. He wants to be where the gold is. I almost want to think that when Flair loses, Jimmy Hart might not be. Once the whole affiliation, maybe after Clash of Champions, then maybe he'll be back to being more on the Luger side. But then again, I don't even know if Luger and Jimmy Hart. This is now the third week in a row now that he's not been with Luger.
Right. So I don't know. But anyways, Hart does distract. Arn Anderson comes out. Flair's holding Macho Man. Arn's going to punch him with some sort of knuckles of some sort.
I think it's the Dick Knuckles.
Yeah, probably was the Dick Knuckles. Macho's going to duck. Flair's going to take the Dick Knuckles to the face. This is going to lead to an elbow drop from Macho Man and a 3 count, which, by the way, the bell's ringing as Savage is jumping off the top rope. So I thought, did he just get disqualified for the Dick Knuckles? And then there's a 3 count. The bell's ringing again. We have a new world champion. I was confused as hell. So I think whoever's the guy handling the bell really botched that ending there.
It was like bring your son to work day or something.
But Macho Man wins. The crowd goes wild. Hulk Hogan gets in the ring and he's celebrating like we just won the war or something like that. Man, he is going insane. And what did you think about this match, Kyle?
I don't know how I really felt about this match because I thought there were many times in this match. This is going to be a running thing with me on the show, and that's going to be the guffaws of the refs. There were some really obvious DQable offenses or things that should not have happened, things that the ref clearly saw. And once again, it's a combination of maybe it was choreographed incorrectly, but even so, it's like shit. It makes the ref look like shitty. The whole Hart distraction with the ref and Arn whipping out the old Dick Knuckles. He accidentally hits Flair with them, but Randy Anderson saw the whole fucking thing. Like he saw him get hit.
It was a very strange ending.
It's kind of like when Sting accidentally got hit with the megaphone because Luger hit him. But it's almost like the refs let it go when it's like the friend accidentally hitting the friend by cheating, right. And so like that should have been a DQ, right? But you're not going to do that. And yeah, like you said, the bell was ringing the whole entire time when he was going to the top rope to do the elbow drop. That made me think that this was going to be a disqualification. He hits the elbow. He goes for the pin. After he hits the 1 count, the bell's still ringing. They count to 3. Honestly, this was actually probably a 2.25, maybe almost a 2.5 star match. There wasn't a whole lot of offense, but like I said before, a lot of chops and punches. Not really a whole lot of actual wrestling moves or holds, which maybe that was the whole point, is that you're in Caesar's Palace. You have a lot of boxing matches and stuff like that in this area. Maybe that's what you wanted, was more of a match where they're just slugging it out. Maybe that was what the crowd might have been more interested in. But yeah, the Savage just did punches and axe handles off the top rope. It felt kind of phoned in, but you couldn't tell because the crowd was so into it that it kind of washed away the fact that it looked like Savage and Flair were having kind of an easy go at it in the ring. Also, I had to complain that while Savage was holding the belt still says Hulk Hogan. Come on, guys.
I wanted to look at that. I was trying to see and I didn't notice, but that doesn't surprise me.
Yep, still says Hulk Hogan, even though Hulk Hogan has been without the world title since October.
Well, there you go. I did give it a 2.25 star match, Kyle, and I think it was because of the big fight and the crowd feel behind it. There was a lot of botched kind of ending to it, but overall, I was okay. I was happy. I think that that a world title match actually meant something on Nitro and didn't end just in a DQ. After the match, Macho Man gets on the mic and starts basically saying, "Hogan, you're celebrating like you just won the title, brother. Like, you didn't win, I won. Like, what's going on?" And basically Hogan says that, now that you're champion, I should get my title shot against you. And Macho Man says, "I'm not Nick Bockwinkel. I don't make that. You have to earn the number one contender ship." And he's kind of like ripping a little bit on Hogan. And I kind of thought, like, man, are they going to start to heel turn Randy right now against Hogan? But then Hogan says, you watch my back tonight against One Man Gang, which I'm going to assume now that Hogan versus One Man Gang is your main event, Kyle, even though we had 2 other title matches actually on the line. And then they start talking about, like, we want to wrestle for the title against each other here at Caesar's Palace. And I'm like, well, you guys are here today and tomorrow. Like, are you coming back at Caesar's Palace for a rematch? And he's like, yeah, let's do it. If you beat me, I'll shake your hand. But if I beat you, you need to shake my hand. And then the 2 of them shake hands. So I'm like, well, I guess we really don't care about the stipulations of shaking hands. And then Hogan actually says, oh, yeah, I think stealing Macho's line, which then Macho has to get on there and say a double oh, yeah. It was just a weird little promo at the end to close this match out.
Yeah, and to kind of give a little bit of information about that whole match in Caesar's Palace between Hogan and Savage, there was already a show that was sold in Vegas for October for Halloween Havoc. They were coming back in the MGM Grand Arena, I believe, and it was billed to be Macho versus Hogan for the title. So, no, they're not coming back anytime soon, but it's always like a strange juggling act to make sure that you sell to provide what you're selling in the world of wrestling, because we know in 96 a lot of shit happens with WCW in the coming months. But still, they had already sold this match of Hogan versus Savage in October at Halloween Havoc. They already have that venue booked for that pay-per-view, and the main event is Macho versus Hogan. That was already something that was on posters and things when you went to this match. If you were to have been to this particular show, this Nitro, there were already posters up for, come back here in October and see Macho take on
7 months or something, 8, 9 months, whatever. Yeah.
Right. So people already kind of knew this match was going to happen. We just didn't know to what extent, but apparently one of these 2 is going to be the world champion by that time. My guess would be Hogan, but especially with everything that we know happens in 96. So, so this does happen. It won't happen in Caesar's Palace, but it will be in outside of Vegas. That's where I think the match is. The MGM Grand Arena is not actually in Vegas. It's in Paradise, Nevada, which is right outside of it.
Oh, well, there you have it. All right, Kyle, then we get our WCW Saturday Night promo for the week. Lex Luger and Sting are going to be doing something, so apparently everything's good between Lex and Sting. Johnny B. Bad versus Ming, which just seems like a weird match to me.
Let me cut you off, and the only reason why I have to say that is because I think we have Pillman versus Malenko, but I think you have the theme music, and you think that the Saturday Night happened before that. No, Pillman and Malenko had a match before the Saturday Night.
Yeah, you're right. I'm looking at this. I just looked down too far on my notes, but yes, I definitely have the Saturday Night Dean Malenko. You know what it is? I actually, in my notes, I wrote WCW Saturday Night Dean Malenko, and then I looked down, I saw WCW Saturday Night promo, and I think I just read that and then started looking at the results.
Oh, you fucked up with your notes.
I did. I totally, I swerved myself on that one. But yes, you're right, Dean Malenko versus Brian Pillman. And this match, I think they bill Dean Malenko as they say something along the lines of, the Texas Cloverleaf shows you what kind of mean guy Malenko is. I don't know what that means, Kyle, because that's just a submission move. Like, does that make him mean? It's not like a brutally, like a very brutal submission move. It's just kind of standard. But
I think they mentioned that because on Saturday night he was wrestling, I think it's Alex Wright.
Oh, and he didn't break the hold then?
He didn't break the hold.
That's right, yeah. I think yes, you're right. I do remember seeing that now. Like, at first, when I wrote that down and then they kind of explained, I'm like, oh, okay, I guess that's what they were going with. For a match between Pillman and Malenko, Kyle, the clothesline that took place in the corner, I think Malenko kind of like chased him into a clothesline. They all lost their damn minds, and it's always so funny to me that like in a match where you get all these cool spots in moments, it's the little things that that make the commentary booth lose their mind.
Yeah, I don't know what I think there's been. Yeah, it was the clothesline. I think that gut buster just made them all just cream their pants.
Yeah. Eventually, Pillman is going to win this match, Kyle. But there was a sort of a tie up in the ropes that they said that the refs didn't see, and I think they make a comment that They just like the NFL needs to bring back replay. They need to have replay here because the heel won with dastardly finishes. The match I only gave it a star and 3/4. I wasn't impressed with it. It wasn't very long either. I think that was probably part of it. They could have done a lot more between the two of them, but it was just, I don't know, not a very good match.
I had it at 2.25 stars until the shit ending. There were points too where there were some sloppy exchanges. I think every time Malenko tried doing a drop kick to Pillman, I feel like Pillman didn't know how to take a drop kick. He just couldn't make heads or tails of where to fall down. But other than that, like I said, they made up with a couple nice spots. There was like the brainbuster, gutbuster by Malenko, Pillman with the tornado DDT, which I think was his finisher at the time, but he didn't feel like pinning when he did it. The whole foot stuck in the ropes thing, that's totally like unforgivable that Nick Patrick doesn't notice it. Once again, though, it's Nick Patrick. What do you expect? I don't understand having a match end due to referee incompetence. This is the second match in a row now where the ending is confusing, or you feel like the ref should have been a lot more assertive in the decision. This did not really tell any story, which also to me gets points or loses points. It was a 2.25 star match until the end. I gave it 1.75 as well because of the ending.
Yep. Now we have a WCW Saturday Night promo. Again, Lex and Sting are going to be doing something. We're not sure what, but they'll be there. And then back to what we were saying, Johnny B. Bad versus Ming. That just seems like a strange match, Kyle.
And really, it seems like I would think Johnny B. Bad, who I think at this point is Mr. Saturday Night at this point.
Is he still a television champion?
Who knows? Who the shit knows, man? We've already talked about how like no title matters except for the world title, and if somebody important has the tag titles, maybe them too. But I also had to give a shout out to the picture they gave for Kimberly and her zebra outfit or whatever the fuck she was wearing.
Yeah.
Which one good, and I think they also take turns with either calling her Diamond Dollar Kimberly. I think they still don't know what the hell to call her.
Right. Yep. And then after that, Kyle, we do have American Males versus Harlem Heat. And then Ric Flair wrestling Alex Wright, which also is a strange match to me.
Yeah, because that's what you do when you just freshly lose the world title, is you'd go and you main event Saturday night.
Against Alex Wright.
Alex Wright.
Yeah. Who knows? The way they book main events, Kyle, Johnny B. Bad versus Ming, maybe your main event Saturday night. Who knows?
No, I bet you the main event is going to be an interview with Sting and Luger. They won't even, it'll be some shit match, and then at the end it'll just be them talking for 5 minutes.
So after this, Kyle, we get Heenan and Bischoff are both trying to talk, and then the other one starts to talk, and the other one stops, and they start talking over each other, but then they keep stopping. And it was like, at first it's like, it's one of those things that could be just like embarrassing, but the way Heenan played it off, I thought was just so well done. Like, you can tell just what a professional the guy is at like his job and handling a commentary thing, and basically, still staying in character. I just really like the way that played out for something so silly and dumb.
I also blame Mongo for this because it was Mongo and Heenan that were trying to talk, because Bischoff said something. And then there was like a weird pause. Like, I think he was waiting for at least one of them to follow up with what he was saying, like kind of like
right,
kind of feed off of what Bischoff, because that's what Bischoff does. Bischoff kind of gives a blanket statement that has a lot of meat on it, and then Mongo and Heenan chew on the meat and talk about it in more specifics in their own opinions. So he does that. No one talks for like 5-6 seconds, which in TV time is an eternity of silence. And then all of a sudden, both Heenan and Mongo both try talking, and then they stop. And then they did it again, like you're on like a bad internet conference call. And yeah, the way Heenan did this was amazing. But I still believe that most of the time when we've seen exchanges, Mongo usually starts. Mongo usually gives the face opinion first. So I think Heenan was waiting because he's the professional. He's the one that's been doing this forever.
This is how we've been doing it, right?
We've been doing this since the 70s. Let the face guy give his opinion, and then let Heenan be the contrarian. And so Mongo wasn't saying shit. So Heenan's like, fuck it, I guess I'll say something. And then Mongo then decides to say something. So, still hats off to Heenan for, making the best out of a very awkward situation.
That he did. But now we're going into our match, Kyle. It's the Harlem Heat defending their tag titles against Sting and Lex Luger. So obviously this means Hogan isn't going to be in this main event with the one-man gang. And for me, Kyle, my strangest thing is Sting and Lex, they're, basically, even though they said they don't come to the ring together, they did. They were like 10 steps apart. I don't know why they're still trying to push that. But for me, the whole thing with the megaphone from last week and Sting was going to get answers. Apparently Sting got those answers in the locker room like he said he was going to do because they were out here buddy, and we never got any resolution from what happened last week.
Yeah, we just erased that. I mean, yeah, the commentary will talk about it, but like I had in my notes here that, oh my God, they're coming out together. Suck at commentary. What are you guys going to talk about for the whole match? Like I said, they didn't mention the whole, Luger costing Sting the world title, but Sting seems to be fine with it. He must still have that. He still must have a lingering concussion because he seems to be a very forgivable person, especially with his best buddy Lex.
So, and during this match, Kyle, we do get a Super Brawl commercial again where they talk about it's all about winning the belt. Do we have any idea what Super Brawl's card is at this point?
I don't think we have any idea. I think
they just keep talking about the belt. They just keep talking about the belt, but yeah, in Clashes tomorrow, which makes sense. But then it's like Super Brawl's like 2 weeks away, so you'd think we would know something. Nobody's going to order a pay-per-view that we don't even know what it. All we know it's about the belt. Well, of course it's about the belt, but so is Nitro every week. So why am I ordering Super Brawl?
And that's the reason why this is a television company that's doing a wrestling show. Like all they care about is TV ratings. The whole pay-per-view is like, if we get money, we get their money. They'll the true fans are going to watch no matter what, but that's not really true. If we don't know what is to look forward to it, why would I spend actual money to watch it? So yeah, they better. I'm really hoping that next Nitro they really start, peeling the onion of what this the card for Super Brawl is going to be. Because Super Brawl, as far as I'm concerned, is one of their bigger.
Should be one of their bigger shows. Yeah.
Yeah.
This match is actually pretty good, Kyle. It eventually is going to end with Luger getting handed something by Jimmy Hart. So Jimmy Hart is still representing Luger. Luger gets the tag in after Sting is wrestling 90% of this match, which is pretty much what happens in the Sting-Luger tag matches.
Yes, it does.
Which is the reason why this match is so good, too, because you have Sting in there the whole time. Luger will get the hot tag and eventually knocks out Stevie Ray with whatever Jimmy Hart handed him, and then you see that there's like silver dollars scattered throughout the ring, so he must have hit him with a sack full of quarters, more or less. Gets the 3 count. I gave this match 2.5 stars, Kyle. I thought the match was pretty good, and I loved the booking decision here with what they're doing with Lex Luger. Like, Lex is sort of that heel, but he's, Sting's still trying to see the good in him. Jimmy Hart's sort of like the guy behind the scenes who's, pulling the strings on Lex and making, might be sort of the bad influence on Lex, making Lex do these heel things. And Sting has no idea now. Sting didn't realize that Luger hit him last week, and, whether it's intentional or not. Now Lex has won them the tag titles, and Sting doesn't even realize at this moment that, like, they won with, like a dirty move, which, of course, the All-American Sting would not be a fan of. Just loved it all around. What about you?
You must have saw a different match. I gave this 2 stars. And it had everything to do still with, once again, referee bullshit, and it's that tried and true thing about tagging in people and ref not seeing it, but the heels can tag in however they want without the ref seeing it. There was a point where Booker T was the actual legal man, but yet Stevie Ray stayed in. It was that kind of shit bugs me when you at least need to have some sort of continuity. Because I think during the point where Booker T was in the ring and Stevie Ray tagged in Booker T. They go in to do a double team. Then Luger comes in and they're trying to clean house a little bit. And then Sting's putting the Scorpion Deathlock on Stevie Ray, who's not the legal man. Booker T gives him like an axe kick to the back of the head to kind of knock him out. And then Booker T goes back to his corner and Stevie Ray is still wrestling, even though Booker T is the legal man. And then there was a point where Luger gets the tag in, and Nick Patrick was just standing there seeing it happen, and then he accidentally, after the tag comes in, looks over to Stevie Ray to stop him from coming into the ring, then runs back to Luger saying, "Oh, I didn't see the tag," when clearly he did. It was just like that type of shit. Like, the match quality itself was fine. it was just the choreography of everybody that just really hurt this with me. And even Heenan even calls out Nick Patrick, saying that he's not a very smart man. And
that's truer words have never been spoken.
So it was just, and also a lot of this match was, Sting being the face in peril, which is fine, but it was with Stevie Ray. Stevie Ray was the majority on the other side, and really Stevie Ray, the only thing he can do well is chin lock and do like a nerve massage hold. So the match did slow down to an ass-grinding halt for a good amount of time before it finally all ended with Luger nailing Booker T in the head with, or it might have been Stevie Ray, I don't know, one of those two, with the silver dollars. They're scattered all out. Nick Patrick doesn't even think to wonder what the fuck those are doing in the ring. He just makes the 3 count and it's all over. It was, I don't know. I gave it 2 stars. Maybe it deserved more because maybe the match quality overall was a little bit better. I can't award points for when I see things that are so egregiously bad in the choreography sense of the match.
Yeah, I mean, in fairness, I don't disagree with most of what you said. I think the reason I did rate it as highly as I did was more for the booking decision. I just really appreciated the direction they're heading with the Sting and Luger storytelling, and that's what kind of got the.
I will give them credit that I feel like they've got a handle on what they're doing with Luger. But once again, give it a couple weeks, man. For all we know, 2 weeks from now, that completely just goes off the wayside. So I don't know.
That's possible. Yeah, absolutely. But one thing, Kyle, that's tried and true, maybe it may not be Lex Luger's storyline or storytelling or writing, but one thing we can always guarantee, Hulk Hogan's in your main event. And that's our main event match, Kyle. Him and the one-man gang who is here with the United States title. So at least if nothing else, Kyle, we have seen the U.S. title multiple weeks in a row now thanks to one-man gang. It's just amazing to me that we've had 2 title changes. The tag titles changed to Sting and Lex. Macho Man wins the title against Ric Flair in a pretty solid opening. A hot crowd, and they put a non-title match with Hogan and One Man Gang as your main event. It's head scratching, and then you can hear from the crowd that they didn't care about this match. No. Like they know it's going to happen. This was just basically like fan service for the 10 middle-aged women that were given free Hogan merchandise so they can wave it around during the match. Right, Hogan in this match, Kyle. The more I watch Hogan wrestle. In this like 95, 96 era, the dude is a heel. I'm sorry. It's one of those things that like you could never believe that they turned Hogan heel. The way I watch this guy eye poke people and gouge and rake the back and some of the stuff he does. Yeah, he bites the head. Yeah, like you said, bites the face during like 10 count punches and stuff like that. Like he is a heel. It's one of those things that like I guess as a kid I never realized, but like it made so much sense to turn him heel because he was basically doing that. Easily, as expected, Kyle, he will eventually hulk up. He'll give the big boot, and he'll, body slam One Man Gang, much like he did Andre the Giant at the Superdome.
Brother,
you get the leg drop, the 1, 2, 3. The match was boring. It was exactly what it was. Your United States champion jobs a short amount of time against Hogan. 1.25 star for me.
I gave it 1.5. Maybe once again, I didn't think it was a bad. It's once again. I think it's probably what you would call match A of Hogan. You have like we always joke about like Hogan has like A, B, and C. We'll pick which one it works. We'll pick the larger man he's taking on. That'll be match A, where he shows off his strength with a body slam. I hate the fact that he's basically squashing the newly crowned, or at least to us in the TV audience, the United States champion.
I mean, he's only been he won it at Starrcade, so he's been champion a couple weeks. Yeah. So
it's just I can't stand. I understand that he's been doing. If you've noticed, he's only been fighting Dungeon of Doom members. That's all. He's just taking turns going through the Dungeon of Doom in all of his matches. So watch out for next week when he probably takes on fucking Kevin Sullivan or something. The match itself is what you expect. Like that's why I didn't want to punish this match because it is what it is. One Man Gang versus Hogan was going to give you this. So if the best I think that this match could be is maybe 2 stars if they both tried their damnedest, and then the crowd was really into it, I think it'd be a 2-star match. The crowd didn't give a shit about it. overall, like the match quality was, I think, as good as you could get from out of those two guys. Although I feel like One Man Gang does not look like imposing at all. He looked like he was just getting his ass kicked in there, and he was wailing about and like acting like he was really getting his ass kicked, which once again makes the U.S. champion look like a bitch. 1.5 stars.
After the match, Kyle, Dungeon of Doom and Horseman come out. Macho Man's going to come in for the save. Everybody's trying to keep Giant out from getting back into the ring, except for Brian Pillman, who was like really trying to feed Giant back in there, which made me laugh. Hogan's going to get on the microphone, him and Macho Man, and they're basically going to talk about
the same shit they already talked about.
Yes, exactly.
Such a meaningless spot.
He basically said he's closer to being a number one contender now because he just defeated One Man Gang, Macho Man, so he's coming for the title. We'll see you back at Caesar's Palace. Then they talk about Clash Champions tomorrow, and they said, we got Miss Elizabeth. We got our secret weapons, Miss Elizabeth and the lean, mean Kevin Green. So
I have that in caps in my notes.
And they say that the Giant and Nature Boy are just going to be meat. So whatever that means. And then Hogan closes out by
John Stasiak?
Hogan closes out by basically just stealing all of Macho Man's lines and saying, oh yeah, before Macho Man can say it. And I feel like, if I'm Macho Man, I'm like, dude, let me have my lines. You're talking the whole time. Let me at least say, oh yeah. And he doesn't. Of course, we close out with the commentary team. Bobby Heenan's calling out that lean, mean Kevin Green. He gets angry and walks off the set pretty much. And they let us know to watch Clash of Champions tomorrow. And that is your Nitro, Kyle. What did you think?
Honestly, this Nitro sucked after the world title match, and even the world title match was maybe a little bit better than okay at best. You had nearly every match having a questionable ref blunder that decided the fate of the match. And once again, you have Hogan squashing someone as the main event. This time was the fucking U.S. champion. That's an egregious move. Make your champions look good. I understand it's Hogan. When you do shit like this, it just makes everybody believe that all Nitro is Hulk Hogan and friends. Like, that's all the show is. And I think people are smart enough now, even in the mid to late 90s, are catching on to that and going, this is bullshit. Like, I'm not here. This is not your Saturday morning cartoons where the structure is going to be the good guys always win. I want to see real storyline. I want to see real progression and growth in my wrestlers. And if you're going to invest into One Man Gang by giving him the strap, then make him look good. Like, I understand that One Man Gang is not good. He's not a fantastic wrestler, but he is good enough to be talked into probably by Hogan to give him the U.S. championship. And I don't know if he wanted him in there to be like, hey, give One Man Gang the strap and then make him job to me. It's okay. He's my buddy. He's basically here just to make me look good, which once again, that's just Hogan being classic Hogan, booking Hogan. But really, WCW Nitro, as good as it was in December, has been honestly really phoned in this month. They really need to reboot this somehow.
And hopefully they will, but in the meantime, it's going to be the same old story. I have to agree, Nitro was not very good. I thought it started with a lot of promise. I kind of, like I said, I liked that big match feel that, you know, you kind of, I don't know if it was both the Vegas crowd and just the idea of being in Vegas and the world title on the line. I love the way it opened, and then the whole thing just kind of tanked after that. So we'll have to see, Kyle, but let's move over to Raw. Of course, we've got the graphic nature warning again, Kyle, and it immediately cuts to Sunny, who's in a red negligee. She's playing pool, and that's about it. So we cut into an the opening promo where they are discussing there's a new era at Royal Rumble, Kyle, and guess who your winner is? It is Shawn Michaels. He is going to go on to WrestleMania. Who would have thought, after being attacked by 9 thugs in Syracuse, being knocked out and basically told he can never wrestle again, he's your Royal Rumble winner. No one saw that coming, right? And then they talk about the Intercontinental title, and Goldust is now the champion, and he has Marlena with him, Kyle, so a lot that happened at Rumble. And they also talk about Diesel's interference with Bret Hart and Undertaker's world title match. So there's a lot to catch up with from Rumble, Kyle. Tonight, they're going to let us know that there's the Battle of the Champions between Hart and Goldust. We've also got a Razor Ramon versus Triple H match, which that could be good. And there's an interview with Shawn Michaels, because there has to be an interview with Shawn Michaels or a promo in every Raw.
Yep, absolutely.
all that said, we are live from Stockton, California, because they're always usually live right after a pay-per-view. And you get Vince McMahon and Jerry standing by ringside discussing that Hart might have been a little injured last night. And King says Goldust is going to finish him off tonight. So got that looked forward to. But we go to ringside, Kyle. Savio Vega's in the ring, and he's getting ready. But Jim Cornette interrupts it and says he's not here to talk about Whitewater or economics or international politics. He
needs to be there to talk about that Marilyn Monroe tie he was rocking.
The tie he's rocking? Yeah, I noticed that too. And he says, you know what time it is? It's Vader time, Kyle. And I had to laugh because obviously now Vader, of course, debuting at Royal Rumble the night before. Here he is in his first debut match. And Savio Vega seems to be the guy who's going to job to the new guys that are debuting, you know?
He did it with Goldust, and now he's doing it with Vader.
Yeah. Yep. My favorite line about this was when King asked who was the bigger signing, that primetime signed by Jerry Jones or Vader being signed by Jim Cornette, because that was a big signing for Jim. And easily it's going to be a Vader win, Kyle, with the Vader bomb. It was a pretty lame squash match. I gave it a 1.5 stars. I don't know if you have anything you want to comment about the match itself before we talk about what happened after the match.
I actually love this match.
Really?
I gave it 2 stars, which is I think the most I usually like to give a squash match because we knew what it was.
There wasn't a lot of time and stuff. Yeah.
Vader was getting it from the crowd. The crowd loved Vader. Like they wanted Vader to destroy Savio Vega. That was kind of why I was really enjoying, because every single time Vader would like go to the corner and kind of flex and try to get something from the crowd gave it back. Like they were really like, yeah, fucking kill that guy. And I think Jerry made some joke about because it was during the Golden Globes, I think season 2, and he said that he's like, oh, what a monster, he should have won a Golden Globe for world's biggest monster. And I just laughed because he couldn't think of anything.
Did I have that in there? God, I thought I wrote that in my notes, because yes, I do remember him saying that, and I thought the same thing. I thought it was like, oh, that's. I was like,
come on, Jerry. Oh,
I do have it right here. Yep, Golden Globe for the world's greatest monster. King's struggling there. That's what I had in my notes. So yes,
but really, Vader just gave Savio the business the entire time. I think Savio threw him out of the ring once, and then that was like all the offense he did, and then like a splash in the corner, Vader bomb for the win. I said, honestly, it's a good enhancement squash for Vader. It really makes him look good, because even like, I don't want to go too far into it because obviously most of my notes are the extracurriculars. But as far as the match itself, he looked about as threatening and strong a heel. We need heels real bad in WWF right now. Everybody just seems to want to ride on the like wanting a cheer from the crowd. Vader is a veteran who doesn't give a shit about that, even though he is getting cheers from the crowd. But he clearly is a heel. He's going to be hopefully he's going to be a great heel for the company. So as far as I was invested in the match, the crowd was invested in the match. Savio got his shit kicked in, 2 stars.
Now to discuss the after the match. Of course, Vader's going to continue being dominant, Kyle. He's going to take Savio Vega back into the corner to repeat a Vader bomb. Cornette's basically holding back the ref at first, letting this go on. And actually, I thought the Vader bomb the first time didn't look very good. I thought the second one looked a lot better. And I just love that Vince says, you don't do that to a WWF official. So he's very upset with Vader. Another official comes in and gets a huge power bomb from Vader.
That's our boy Jack Doan.
Was it Jack Doan that did it with his like flowing mullet in the early 90s or mid 90s?
He took that power bomb.
He did, it was a great looking power bomb. Yeah.
Yeah, good spot. Thank you, Jack Doan.
Out comes interim president Gorilla Monsoon, Kyle. And I had to laugh because the outside, I don't know if you noticed it or not, the camera guy is like moving the camera, and there's like another dude who's like, I don't know if he's like handling the cords or something like that, and he like pokes his head up to look, and he realizes he's on camera, like immediately drops down, like, oh shit, I'm caught on camera. But anyways,
fucking live television.
Yeah, they get in there. Gorilla Monsoon says he's indefinitely suspending Vader for his actions because you don't do that to WWF officials. And also Vader was a little surly last night at Royal Rumble, so this is probably the second now, his second strike. So Vader basically grabs Cornette. He's arguing with Cornette about what's going on, shoves him, and he goes after Gorilla Monsoon, who then takes off his glasses, and Monsoon slaps and chops at Vader, which gets Vader to back up for a second.
I totally forgot. It's hard to notice it sometimes because a lot of Gorilla Monsoon's, I guess, spots on TV, he's at his desk, or maybe you see from like the shoulder up. Monsoon's a huge man.
There's a reason he was called Gorilla Monsoon. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he actually was slightly bigger than Vader, so I totally can understand. Like, he basically just giving a bunch of chops, like, get the hell out of here. And yeah, that's why I loved it. Like, oh my god, like Monsoon is like why would Monsoon? It makes sense. Like, why would Monsoon be like, dude, I'm bigger than you are. Get the fuck out of here.
Right. Oh yeah. Needless to say, Cornette gets pushed out of the way. Vader goes and splashes Monsoon and whoever was behind Monsoon, one of the referees. Follows
was Jack Doan again.
Was it Jack Doan again? Jack taking all the bumps here.
He better be getting a good paycheck for this.
Right. Vader then drops an elbow onto Monsoon, sets him up for the Vader bomb. He kind of missed the Vader bomb, but I'll allow it anyways. Eventually,
yeah,
Sean...
on an old retired man, I'm okay with it. The only person that I think is okay with taking full bumps is Vince McMahon.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Or Mae Young and Moolah. Those ones still took
that
bumps
is true.
Well late
Consummate
into their
professionals.
life.
Yeah.
Shawn Michaels and Razor Ramon will eventually come out for the save to help protect Gorilla Monsoon. Vader just continues to talk shit to Vince, and he leaves. And I had to laugh because Vince McMahon, the way Vince is like just totally like just mortified and disgusted with Vader, and he's like, I've known Gorilla Monsoon all my life. And I don't know what it is. This entire attack, I know it's supposed to be, to make Vader look like a monster and just despicable. I found it hilarious. They're showing Monsoon get put on a stretcher, and then they go to replay of showing what just happened. Dude, I cannot stop laughing about this entire attack on Monsoon.
I just laughed because the crowd loved it. It was they were getting like the exact opposite of what I think that the crowd I think they wanted the crowd to be mortified and booing him. Dude, the crowd wanted more of it. They were like, yes, kill all the baby faces. And so that's why I was laughing, because like this did not go the direction that I think WWF, creative wanted, because all they just did was make everybody like cheer for Vader.
Yes, yeah, pretty much. They do go backstage then, Kyle. Cornette's there with Vader. They're talking about what's happening. Cornette's basically begging Vader to calm down and let's just, stop doing it. But Vader basically gets on there and says he's declaring war on everyone, the wrestlers, the referees, Mr. McMahon. And then he says Mr. I think he forgot who it was, so he just goes, Rah! And walks off.
Dude, that's what happens when, like, you're in the middle of being the Hulk and being Bruce Banner. Like, I think he was finally coming down. He just blanked out. He had no idea what he was saying. He was talking faster than he was thinking. I'm not sure who he was talking about.
Maybe
he was
Gorilla
talking about
Monsoon. Yeah, that's the only thing I could guess. I'm not sure. I think he just had a brain fart and just decided he'd scream and wander
by
off.
the way, Vader called Vince McMahon Mr. McMahon, so the name has already existed.
The name is there. We can dub it that Vader's the one who started the Mr. McMahon character, or at least dubbed it anyways.
At least dubbed it.
After this, Kyle, we get the Hunter Hearst Helmsley versus Razor Ramon. Of course, Triple H coming out with his valet for the day or something, which is a woman they're calling Shay Marks, who I looked up, and she was a Playmate of the Year in 1994, so former Playboy Playmate model. And the camera's not shy about that. They're showing her a lot, up and down, and eventually, King's going to interview and hit on her about giving him a massage, stuff like that. And as this match is starting to take place, they cut to a promo of Ted DiBiase and the 1-2-3 Kid, and they're talking about how Razor's a crybaby, and they're going to shove a bottle in his mouth and change his diaper. Literally could not have been a dumber promo, I think. It's amazing to me, Kyle, that a show that opens up with a woman in red lingerie with cleavage out You just saw a guy brutally attack a 60-year-old man.
And then he took like 8 steps backwards.
Yeah, and then you do this. So, not sure. They're kind of back and forth with where they're at. This eventually, 1-2-3 Kid is going to come out. I say eventually, but it wasn't that long into the match. 1-2-3 Kid's going to run out, and he's going to shove that big bottle down Razor's throat, which, of course, pisses Razor off. Razor comes out, and he's chasing 1-2-3 Kid around the ring. And I saw the fastest 10 count in the history of 10 counts take place to end this match.
I timed it. I actually timed it. Usually a 10 count in a normal wrestling match, and I'm not joking, usually a 10 count is like 30 seconds long.
Absolutely.
In order to get a 10 count going. This 10 count was 11 seconds. This was barely 10, more than 10 seconds.
Barely hit the 10 second. I gave it a star and 3/4. It wasn't much of a match. It ended shitty. I kind of was hoping that Razor versus Triple H was going to be a good match, and it wasn't.
For me, I gave it a star and 3/4. This match actually looked really good, and then I felt like after the commercial break, it just fell apart. Because at the beginning of it, looked like they were both going fast. There were some good exchanges. I felt like they were both like really going at it with each other. Some good haymakers. Like they were both selling each other's, moves. Even though there weren't a whole lot of moves. Like I said, a lot of slugging. Both of them were doing just a lot of slugging in the ring. And I feel like back in the 90s, if the match was not going to be consequential between the two of them, they're not going to have like a very good technical match because they don't want to screw up. What's the point of like having a match that they're not going to have it like maybe a follow-up match? They're not going to continue like a storyline feud or something like that. So just go in there, do a couple exchanges, throw some punches and chops, maybe a scoop slam if you're feeling frisky. But I felt like as soon as the commercial break came and went, they came back. It just felt like they ran out of ideas. It was like, okay, well, we already punched each other for the last 3 minutes. What do we do now? And then it's like, okay, well, we need to stall and think of something before 1-2-3 Kid comes out. And I think that's where the match kind of looked a little lackadaisical, and the quality kind of went down because I think they just didn't know what else to do with the match. I was okay with the count out, whatever ending, but I don't know. I just hate count out endings unless something's going to happen with it. So who knows?
Right.
Like it's one of those things where like we're judging it now, but who knows? Maybe 2-3 weeks from now, there's a payoff based on this continued storyline between Kid and Razor. I don't really know. I also gave it 1 3/4 as well.
After the match, Razor does go back into the ring, and he's going to try to put a Razor's edge on Triple H. But Triple H squirms out of it, grabs Shay, and they run off to the back stage. And they say, for comedic purposes, Kyle, the final wrestling war room. I had to laugh that they said for comedic purposes. Like it's almost like they're taking a step back on what they're doing here. And basically, it gets on there about with billionaire Ted talking about how he's buying old assets and repackaging them, and he says he's going to try not to steal all the ideas from the WWF. He wants to come up with one original idea, and Scheme Gene says, "I got one. You just got to call me to find out what that original idea is," and that's your wrestling war room for the week, Kyle. Kind of weak. Kind of
this whole thing of the backpedaling is, I think the main reason why is because I think this also has a lot to do with Vince trying to get investors interested in his product. And when you already have like a wrestler that everyone's thinking is a homosexual that is, really polarizing and offensive to the younger audience, which is the majority, I believe, of probably the clientele of the WWF, then you've got this is now graphic detail, and all that really means is Sonny's going to wear a dress. Like they're just they're tippy toeing and they're walking on eggshells. And then the comedic purposes is, we talked about this last week where there was a big publication with Ted Turner kind of taking umbrage towards what WWF was doing with his likeness and talking, and doing all these skits. So because of that, like Vince doesn't want any of his stuff to be put in the bad light. So now he has to backpedal and say, hey, look, we're not doing this to like be offensive or to do anything mean-spirited. This is all in just good fun. This is all for the sake of entertainment. We're not trying to make a political statement. We're not trying to represent the gay community in any way, shape, or form. Like he's saying all those things, but he doesn't realize by doing that, sometimes it actually really waters down what we thought you were doing, and now we're even less interested because we like the fact that we feel like there's some personal vendetta. Like that's what makes us kind of interested in it. But then when you say things like, "Oh, it's all in fun," like we're fine, like we're not trying to be mean, then it's like I don't care. Then I kind of want you to be mean.
Right. Yep. I gotta say, umbrage, Kyle, is gonna be the word of the week this week, huh? You're just trying to teach our listeners new words every week.
I want to thank Mrs. Dobus, my 9th grade teacher, for teaching us brand new words. I think it was 10 new vocab words every week.
Something like that, yeah.
Next week will be the word vociferous. It's one of my favorite words of all time.
What I don't remember what vociferous was, but I wonder if it's a word that you could describe Doc Hendricks and the Raw Band, because that's the thing now.
Vociferous means loud.
What? They have a Raw Band now, and Doc Hendricks is out there dancing with them. And
I was like, what is this, the Tonight Show?
Yeah, it had that feel, and it was so casual. Like they were just like, it was like they were coming back from commercial, and they're like, Doc Hendricks and the Raw Band, and they come back, and I'm like, wait, you don't just throw that by me.
Do that.
And just pretend like it was nothing. Doc Hendricks is over there dancing with the Raw Band, and you have a Raw Band now. Like, what?
He's over there air guitaring like it's you getting ready for this podcast.
That's right. But after that, Kyle, we do get Vince. He's going to interview the winner of the Royal Rumble and the most flamboyant wrestler in the WWF today. And before Michaels comes out, we discuss what he says here. I had to take a note, Kyle. There's a lot of signs in the crowd. And you know, I don't know when it starts, really. You know, eventually during the Attitude Era, like, they're just all signs in the crowd. But this is the first time I really noticed a lot of signs. So it's something I just wanted to make note of here, and something that we might want to just kind of keep an eye out going forward. Like, is this the start of the sign era, if you will?
Yeah, I never really even noticed it, only because the only time I ever really noticed it was when I watched like old Attitude Era, like where it's like nobody could watch the show because everybody had a sign.
Right. Yeah,
we're not there yet.
No, we're not there yet by any means. But we're, you know, before it was like one or two. Now you're starting to see them, you know, 4 or 5 in each section, kind of thing. So it's starting to be there. That said, HBK comes out, Kyle, and basically says he's back in the saddle and he's got a 3-step program. One of them is winning the Royal Rumble, which he can check off the list. Another one is going to be his match at WrestleMania. But then he said between that, the Clique has a little something to handle. And he's talking about Owen Hart, the guy who says taking credit for putting him out. And he said, no, the people that put me out were those 9 chumps from Syracuse. Out comes Jim Cornette, Kyle. He basically says he's not here to start trouble, but if you want Owen, you know, Owen's already beaten you. There's no reason for Owen to wrestle you. And Michael says he'll give anything. So of course Cornette says, oh, anything? Then why don't you put up your Royal Rumble contendership match at WrestleMania on the line? So Michael says, looks and asks the Clique, which apparently, Kyle, the crowd is the Clique, which I didn't realize was the thing. But he asked the Clique if they think that if he should do that. Of course, the crowd cheers. Cornette's got a deal, and then he throws Cornette over the top rope. And I guess we've got a match with Owen and Shawn Michaels, which it's a way to kind of hold things over till the road to WrestleMania, and I guess kind of wrap up any little loose ends with the Owen and Shawn storyline.
Yeah, I feel like this match had to happen. This was going to happen just because this was the last match Shawn had. It didn't really have a clear victory. I guess Owen was given the victory just because Shawn couldn't continue. So in the books, as Vince would say, you could put it down on there on the record books that Owen won that match because of it. I don't think it was thrown out. But yeah, I'm okay. I'm okay with this. The only problem I had with this still was this is now all Owen Hart's shtick is right now. I really wish that Owen Hart's a good enough wrestler that he doesn't need to have this thing he did back in October or November. When did he get knocked out? November?
Yeah, right around November, I think. Maybe.
And what the shit has Owen Hart done since then? Like this, he basically has been carrying around I took out Shawn Michaels as if that's his storyline. And I don't like that is the only thing that he is walking around saying that he did. But whatever, like I said, it's an easy way for Shawn to come back, and maybe they were holding on to it because they want to, I guess, close the book on this. I'm looking forward to the match. I would assume Shawn wins it, though.
All right. I would assume so as well. After this, Kyle, they're promoting the Super Monday following the Super Bowl. You got Diesel versus British Bulldog. You got Shawn Michaels versus Yokozuna. So those are your matches to look forward to next week on Raw. We get a little bit more of Doc Hendricks and the Raw Band. And then we get our champion versus champion. It's Goldust, who's coming out with Marlena, who they're now referring to as his director, versus Bret Hart. Of course, they're bringing Marlena in, I think, to help kind of cool the waters on the idea that he's a stalker, creepy homosexual. Now they're going to try to bring things back a little bit. They cut to some pre-recorded comments with Goldust and Marlena. You can't hear a word over it of the music playing. They really need to figure out their audio situation there.
Yeah, they thought maybe the problem was only Sid. Well, but now the problem is that when you have any kind of wrestler that's really trying to talk like we really want you to listen, where instead you're so used to having wrestlers yelling into the camera and being Yokozuna, I'm coming for you for the Sunday, brother. Then yeah, you can easily hear all that. But when you actually have people who are much more character oriented, that's more of hey, I'm kind of psychotic, but I'm going to talk in a, kind of almost like a serial killer, you need to listen to me type of voice. You would think that this is all pre-recorded. They can listen to this beforehand and go, hey, this was too soft. Let's do it again.
Right. Or they can just turn down the music or something. Yeah, right. They do make an announcement, Kyle. Gorilla Monsoon, before he was attacked in the ring, did sign off the match that Diesel's going to finally get his rematch, Kyle, next in your house in February against Bret Hart in a steel cage. So we got that going. And as for this match goes, Kyle, I didn't really write down a lot of notes because I was kind of disappointed in this match. It had 3 commercial breaks to it. And it just, eventually, Bret Hart is going to win, get Goldust to tap cleanly to the sharpshooter. I don't like the idea of your brand new Intercontinental Champion just kind of jobbing to, I get he's Bret Hart, he's your world champion, but I was just the match was okay. It could have been a lot better. It also probably shouldn't have happened the way it did. I don't know. What'd you think?
I had a hard time rating this match, and because of the commercial breaks. I feel like nothing was really happening, and then we went to commercial, and then we come back, and it's like Goldust has Hart on the ground, kind of in an arm lock of some sort, and then maybe he breaks out of it and throws him out of the ring, and they kind of recoup. They go to another commercial break. And then they continue that. Nothing really happened in this match at all. This was an 11-minute match overall. I looked it up, but only about 4 minutes of it actually aired on TV, and it was the 4 most uneventful minutes of the match. And ultimately, Goldust and Marlena are just gonna leave. They're all right, we're just gonna live to fight another day. And Razor comes out, decks him. That should be a DQ, but it's not. Fuck it, throw him back in the ring, and then just almost immediately, you put him in the sharpshooter. My problem with this has always been, like you said, you've got your 2 biggest champions now, your Intercontinental and your World Title champion. I understand that maybe the world champ should win, but Goldust did not do well, and once again, this might have been choreographed the way it was supposed to be, but he got squashed for the most part. I don't feel like nothing really happened in the match until sharpshooter for the win. I'm always a fan of, and I think WWE does a better job of it now, that when you have 2 champions going at it, in order to make not either one of them look weak, usually it's a long match that might end in a DQ, or like I said, people spill out and the match gets thrown out. Or if somebody does win, at least make the match feel wow, both of them really look like they deserve to be champion. But this match, I don't even have a rating for this because it was really tough for me to give one based on the fact that we really didn't even get to see half the match because of the commercial breaks. So I don't even have a rating for this, to be honest.
I don't blame you there. It was, I don't know. After the match, Kyle, Bret Hart gets interviewed by Vince. Bret Hart's rocking a black eye here. And he also has a hurt knee. Hart says he wants his rematch with Diesel just to get it over and done with. He's happy that it's happening in a cage and says he's deadly in a cage. And also mentions that he respects Undertaker. And I think he's a little basically, saying, sorry, it played out the way it did.
It's a pandering babyface thing you do.
Right. King reminds us about Super Monday next week. Bulldog and Diesel. And They Billionaire Ted responds to. They said next week Billionaire Ted's going to respond to why he's trying to put the WWF out of business. And we end.
I thought we were done with that. I thought we had, or is this the last wrestling
war room?
Else?
Yes, okay. Right, yeah, because I thought the same thing. I'm like, oh, they're done with the skits. Nope, they're done with the war room skits. And then we end, Kyle, with the Vader bomb on Monsoon, and we see it ends with a still image of Monsoon face down in the ring, which I just thought was a funny way of ending it. I cracked up one more time. What did you think about Raw?
I feel like WWF still needs, at this point, needs to, I guess, improve on their live television production. The show itself was all right. I mean, the Vader spot was awesome. I think it's kind of the same problem as Nitro. The show started out big, and then I don't know if they just think now from a television perspective that as long as you have something that is, wild and interesting and over the top at the beginning, that you got them hooked, and then the rest of the show can be whatever you want it to be because you got them. You got them hooked in. You got Vader killing everybody. You've got it creates this like, oh man, like it's getting really crazy today on the show. And then it kind of, peters out. And I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that they're on live television. They don't know how to space their timing correctly to keep things within a certain amount of time. They don't have Billionaire Ted and Eric Bischoff saying, we'll go later if we need to. Like, I guess they don't have that with USA. The Wrestling War Room thing was not funny. It was not really interesting at all. It was just kind of cheesy. It was good to see Shawn Michaels back. He needs to be back. WWF sorely needs him, especially in the ring. Not so much the promos. I always thought Shawn Michaels was okay, maybe better than okay on as far as on the mic, but we need him back in the ring as soon as possible. And I've just never been a big fan of world title versus intercontinental title or champion matches where I feel like when the world title, the world champion wins cleanly and easily, I feel it waters down the Intercontinental Champion. Wasn't a huge fan of that. So I think overall, good start, bad finish.
Which is kind of what we said about Nitro. So I agree with you. I thought it started hot, and I thought it kind of just really died quickly. Who won the week for you?
I almost was going to say Raw. But I think the reason why I can't is because I think the crowd, I give the credit to both crowds. Both crowds on both shows, I felt really brought it. I think they are really enjoying the show. And so that was something that I usually try to feed off, say like what show was interesting based on how the crowd was kind of enjoying it. I think the most egregious errors came from Nitro. But you have two titles, switching hands. That creates interest and intrigue. I guess only because of that. I think the match quality was about as bad on both shows. Maybe Nitro takes a slight edge, so I guess I'd give a slight edge to Nitro.
I think I took a slight edge to Raw on this week, Kyle, and just because of the way I thought it started well, I liked the Vader end of things. To your point, I still really like the big match feel of Flair and Macho, but I'm over the Hogan main event, and I don't know. Both shows, I'm picking Raw, but it's barely. And neither of them deserve to win this week, I think.
If we were to pick, if we're going to pick the winner based on the best spot of the night, then it clearly goes to Raw. I think the Vader spot at the beginning, I think was overall more interesting, more exciting than even the world title match. But once again, I think I take a look at it as more happened. Like that Raw, other than Vader, other than the whole Vader spot, the rest of the card might as well not have even happened. Like that, all of that was completely inconsequential matches with inconsequential endings. Who gave a shit about any of it? At least on Nitro, you had matches that had, you were furthering something, or you were ending something, or titles were actually changing hands. So you had your bigger play. Once again, you had all your big players in matches again. That's always been Nitro's kind of formula, and because of that, I give it to Nitro. because I think the matches had more meaning, whether or not I hated the fact, obviously, that you had the ref blunders in almost every match. But I think I think next Nitro is this match, or this particular show on Nitro is going to be interesting to see like what's going to happen at Clash of Champions and what's going to happen next Nitro. This Raw, as much as I enjoyed the Vader spot, he's suspended indefinitely. So I don't know if Vader's even going to be on the show next week at all. Like, for all we know, he's done. We don't know anything. We know he's not, but that's all we know. But the rest of the card might as well be like, well, next Raw has nothing to do with last Raw. And I think that's always been the problem with Raw, is that I feel like they don't carry things over from episode to episode, and they need to improve on that.
Well, the Nielsen ratings, Kyle, Raw is going to go from a 2.4 last week up to a 2.9 this week. So it's the first time following a pay-per-view where we actually get an increase in ratings. The closest we ever had before without dropping in ratings was when it just remained the same. Here you get a big bump, so Shawn Michaels winning the Rumble, apparently that's putting butts in the seats. Meanwhile, Nitro, 3.5 last week, drops to a 2.7, but did you really think the 3.5 was going to last too long there? I still think
hell no.
So Raw wins the week, but those numbers are still looking pretty good, Kyle, and it looks like we got things heating up here during the wars. And they're not going to get any slower next week, Kyle, because we're going right back to January 29th editions. We'll be back here to discuss of Nitro and Raw. Following the Super Bowl, it's going to be Super Monday, Kyle. And if you haven't subscribed to us yet, we are on iTunes, we're on Google Play. Go leave us maybe leave us that 5-star rating so we can get move up the charts. Follow us on social media. We're on Twitter, we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, leaving comments, leaving posts, tweets, all that kind of stuff. You can leave feedback there too. And you can always go to MondayNightTour.com for all of our social media accounts, past episodes, all that fun stuff. And that said, that's the show, Kyle. So for Kyle Hoagland, I am Josh Kaiser, and we will see you guys next time on the Monday Night Tours.
Have a good Tuesday. See you later.